Every machine or automotive system works on a very elaborate system of lubrication. Without lubrication, no machine can run. So here today I will show you how our cars work on lubrication and how we can maintain the functioning of the car effectively. Whenever you take the car to mechanic, the first thing he will do is to check the oil level in the engine. So this is the dipstick that he will use, and he will try to assess first the level of the lubricant and the second the quality of the lubricant. The lubricant lubricates the engine and all the related engine parts. For example, camshaft bearings, crankshaft bearings, cylinder and the piston interface. So the whole engine is maintained because of a very good lubrication system, and therefore it is very important that we maintain the lubrication very effective by frequently changing the lubricants and also ensuring that no part remains dry without lubrication. This is a Suzuki car which is sold in India as Maruti Suzuki brand. It has got 4-cylinder engine with 1.2 liter capacity. So the first thing mechanics would do is to lift the car so that he can go under the car and do the work of oil change. Changing of the oil is very important, and it must be done at frequent or regular intervals so that our engines can run very effectively, efficiently. So here we have this what is called oil sump, or it is a tray where oil collects. So this is the place where oil is kept, and he is opening the port from where the oil will come out. So this is the oil which has been used for quite some time, and that's why we can see this oil looks very blackish in color. A new oil or good oil will look very golden or honey-like color. This very dark black color is because of the degradation of the oil, as well as because it has some wear particles which have come out from the engine parts. So that means if we keep this kind of oil for a long time, our engine will suffer because of wear. So therefore it is very important that we remove or drain out this oil and replace this with new oil. So now oil has almost come out of the sump, and the mechanic will open the filter. So this sump also has got a filter, and the job of filter is basically to filter the oil, because as oil gets dirtier, it is important to filter the oil. But after long use, the filter can also get clogged, and therefore it is important that we drain out the old oil as well as we replace this filter with a new one. So he is going to open this filter. The lubricating oil system contains a pump, and the job of the pump is basically to take the oil from the oil sump and supply oil to all parts of the engine. So this oil is coming from the oil system or the pipe in which still some oil is there. So we will drain out all the oil, as well as we will remove this filter and replace this filter with a new one. So now he will close the port from where we had drained oil. So this is the collected old oil, and also you can see the old filter here. So the oil is completely black, dark in color, and it also becomes quite viscous, and that's because it contains lot of byproducts or lot of soot that comes out of the engine parts. So now the mechanic is trying to open the filter part because the engine gets air, and this air is filtered, so it passes through the filter before it goes into the engine. So he will change this filter as well. So this is how the used filter looks like. It's quite dirty. Now the mechanic is going to install a new filter, oil filter. So now with the oil filter installed, our oil system is ready to take a new oil because we have already drained out the old oil. Now this is the coolant system or cooling system. So our engine also has very efficient cooling system, and because of the cooling system the engine can run without any problem because lot of heat is generated in the engine. So now my mechanic has opened the lid from where new oil can be filled. So it is very important that this part is cleaned and no possibility of any dirt should be there. The oil that we have selected is synthetic oil, so it is fully synthetic oil, and actually fully synthetic oil has longer life because of it does not contain any kind of impurities. In comparison, the mineral oil based engine oils have lower life because they contain some impurities, and also they are not very effective in lubrication as these synthetic lubricating oils are. So this kind of oil flows quite nicely, and so now we are going to fill the oil tray or the sump with this new oil. So this kind of petrol engine can require up to 3.5 to 4 liters of oil during change. These engine lubricating oils are very complex because they contain several types of additives. For example, anti-wear additives or anti-friction additives, as well as anti-corrosion and other types of additives and boundary lubricants. Therefore, an engine cannot run without a well-formulated lubricating oil.
मैडम की बैटरी आ गई होंडा की इमेज वाली की लगा दूँ तूने खोल के लिया मैं बता दे
So now the oil has been changed and the mechanic has found that the cooling system pipe has been damaged, and this damage is because of the heat that it carries. So he's going to change the pipe which takes the coolant from the engine to the radiator. So the coolant actually gets the heat from the engine and then it passes to the radiator where the coolant is cooled back to normal temperature. So this is how the heat transport happens. So basically the heat from the engine is transported and removed in the radiator. So along with the lubrication, coolant is also a very important part of engine, because the coolant will keep all the parts of the engine as cool as possible, and also it will protect the lubricant from getting damaged, because of heat the lubricant can actually degrade very fast. So therefore the coolant system is extremely important for running this kind of IC engines. These coolants also work as antifreeze, because in countries where the temperature can go down into the freezing range, then the coolant will protect the radiator and the engine from freezing. So now he has almost removed the pipe, the hose, and you can see the coolant which was in the engine part is coming out. So this is the coolant which is coming out of the coolant line in the engine. And along with the hose, some part of the metal is also damaged, so he's going to remove that and replace with a new one.
सर फूल गया ना यहाँ से अच्छा हाँ हो तो ये भी जाएगा मत चेंज कर दो ज़्यादा में सस्ता ही है हाँ हाँ
So this kind of damage happens quite often. So it is important that during every servicing we should ask the mechanic to check on these pipes. This old pipe has swollen little bit because of the heat, and also it has become very hard and brittle. So the coolant system also has got a pump, and this pump basically pumps the coolant fluid throughout the engine. So it has got a full system, closed system of coolant flow. So coolant flows from the reservoir to the engine parts and then back to the radiator and again back to the reservoir. The coolants contain water in ethylene glycol, which acts as antifreeze in roughly about 50-50 proportion. The coolant also contains corrosion inhibitors, which are inorganic phosphates and silicates. The color of the coolant comes from these additives. In European countries, phosphates are avoided due to hard water, which contains calcium and magnesium minerals. They react with phosphate and form deposits on metal surfaces, reducing the heat transfer efficiency. Therefore, in European countries, the additives used are silicates and carboxylates as inhibitors. So this is a mixture of inorganic and organic additives. The color of these coolants will be different. In Asian countries, silicates are not used due to problem with water pump seals and poor heat transfer. A mixture of carboxylates and phosphates are used. So again we can see that all the coolant which was in the engine parts has drained out because of removing the hose and the connecting part.
पिघल गया था सारा बिल्कुल बारीक रह गया
So this is the connecting part which has got damaged because of heat.
मेटल कौन सा ये वाला पार्ट डैमेज हो गया ना यहाँ पे अच्छा
And also a lot of material from the hose pipe has got deposited onto it.
पिछले बार जो
It is not necessary to change the coolant every time you go for servicing of your car. The coolant can work for several years, but every time we do the servicing, it is important that we do a top-up so that any loss of coolant can be refilled. So we can see through this port how the cooling system looks like. So basically the coolant goes through a very intricate system inside the engine block. Now the new hose pipe will be installed. So before installing the pipe and the part, the mechanic is actually applying some glue. So this glue will help so that there is no leakage. So the new hose pipe is quite flexible. It is made of rubber, and after some time of use, because of the heat, actually it becomes very stiff and brittle. So this one is new and this is quite flexible. So this hose pipe connects the engine coolant part to the radiator. So the hot coolant will come out of the engine and pass through the radiator where it will get cooled down. So now he has installed the one end of the hose pipe. Similarly, he will install the other end of the hose pipe so that there is no leakage in between. So now this is the tank where the coolant is stored. So he has installed the tank and also connected the pipe. So any additional need of coolant is taken out of this tank because of the pump. So now he is going to fill the coolant in the coolant system as well as in the tank. The green color of this coolant comes from the phosphates that it contains as additives. So during filling the coolant, it is important to switch on the engine so that the pump can run and the pump can fill all the necessary gaps inside the engine with coolant. So any additional need of the coolant will be supplied through the coolant tank. So in this video we have seen two very important parts of the maintenance of a car engine. The first is the lubricant. The lubricating system is extremely important to run the engine efficiently without any wear or damage. The second is the cooling system. So we must fill the coolant so that the cooling system can work very effectively and it can keep the engine at normal temperature or at lower temperature. Otherwise the engine will heat up and that will damage both the metal parts as well as the lubricant part. So finally the mechanic is going to install the filter which filters the air that passes through the engine. So it is very important for the car engines to be serviced regularly and the oil to be changed frequently. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any question related to the lubricant or the lubrication system, please do write them down in the comment section. Thank you.